So, some more solstice shorts. This is Dusk. Lost the banner. Don't know what's happened to the banner. Very disappointing. But I've got the book and I've got the t-shirt, so we'll manage. If you thought the first solstice shorts was ambitious, sunrise to sunset, 8.5 hours of non-stop, this was ambitious. Again, it was a weekday, so how do you manage a weekday? And I thought, dusk. And I looked it up, and dusk happens at different times over the course of the day in different places and lasts a different amount of time. So we thought, okay, let's see how far up the country we can go and how far down. And wouldn't it be nice to have 12 sites? And Holden below we did. And we started in Ellen in Aberdeenshire at 1707 and raced over the country at the speed of dark, with overlapping events taking place in Inverness, Carlisle, Holyhead, Lancaster, Rosendale, Nottingham, Birmingham, Greenwich, Kelston, Walkley, and ending in Redruth in Cornwall as full dark fell at 1820. So although it lasted something under an hour and 20 minutes, because we were in so many different places for roughly 45 minutes, we ended up with hours of material. Because, being a bit of a control freak, I thought, if this is all happening at the same time, I can't keep control of it. I won't know what's going on. Oh my goodness, how am I going to cope with this? I know, I'll ask them to upload it to Facebook Live. This was kind of challenging for some of us, and some people didn't actually manage it in the heat of the moment. I didn't quite. I hit the wrong button and sent it to my personal page instead of the Arachne one. Some people were wonderfully professional. The Red Roof crew were amazing. I've watched theirs several times since because it's just so beautiful. And Carlisle had great fun being very sort of roving reporterish and having people set up in all sorts of different places in the cafe that they were using and taking the camera around to them. So that was lovely. And we had loads of music this time.
Birds that sing together, stay together. I sing with some I know and some are strangers. Then I light another candle for the future, past, and now and then I sing again. Birds that fly together, stay together. They feel the empty sky and heavy weather. Then I light another candle for the friends we lost along the way. We sing again. The darkest day, the longest night, took me 24 moons to feel alright. And I'm gonna light another candle for you. The longest night, the darkest day, took me 24 moons till I felt okay, till I felt okay without you, till I felt okay. Birds that fly together, stay together. They feel the empty sky and heavy weather. Then we light another candle for the friends we lost along the way, and we rise again. The darkest day, the longest night, took me 24 moons to feel alright. But I'm gonna light another candle for you. The longest night, the darkest day, took me 24 moons till I felt okay, till I felt okay without you, till I felt okay. And then the seasons cheer and the boughs of holly, and I find it really hard to be jolly All I do is remember every year before. Then I hang the lights, make sense in the dark. I feel a flicker, feel a spark of hope, of hope, of hope. The darkest day, the longest night, took me 24 moons to feel alright. And I'm gonna light another candle for you. The longest night, the darkest day, took me 24 moons till I felt okay, till I felt okay without you. And again, here we go. The darkest day, the longest night, took me 24 moons to feel alright. And I'm gonna light another candle for you. The longest night, the darkest day, took me 24 moons till I felt okay, till I felt okay without you. Till I felt okay without you. Without you. Till I felt okay.
Loads of music. There was music at almost every site.
It is time to go now. Haul away your anchor. Haul away your anchor. 'Tis our sailing time. Get some sail upon her. Haul away your halyards. Haul away your halyards. 'Tis our sailing time. Set her on her course now. Haul away your foresheets. Haul away down channel on the evening tide.
And the most amazing stories and poems. It was absolutely magnificent. Never been more proud of something that I've put together. Never been more scared in the process, but never been more proud of it. It was stunning. I really felt like this was what you call an achievement. And Patrick Gale, who helped out with finding us somebody to work with in Cornwall, because initially I approached him because he runs the North Cornwall Book Festival and said, who do you know who might be up for this? He said, well, none of my people will be really busy then. So I said, fine, that's fine, but any suggestions? And so he made suggestions to people who also couldn't, who made suggestions, and I was trying my printers who are in Cornwall saying, who do you know? Because you never know who knows who. And I can't actually remember who suggested the writer's block finally, but the writer's block were terrific and even helped with finding some match funding. So that was amazing. And Rosendale were amazing. Rosendale, it was the Rosendale Museum and Art Centre. And I phoned up and I was recommended them by one of the poets who said, I think they'd like this. So I phoned up and I explained, and the guy I was talking to was very, very cool about it, saying, oh yes, I think we might like that. And then he sent me an email saying, I had goosebumps. And I thought, okay, yes. And everybody really, really put their best foot forward. And we started in Ellen, which is on that flat bit of coast that faces north before you get to the lump that goes up to Wick. And Intuitive Music Aberdeen, who did the organising there, played this astonishing bit of ambient music that Haworth had written, and played it at the moment of the solstice, which was somewhat earlier than we were starting, and then just kept going. And then when we got to dusk, the readers joined in, and it was a really sort of fully formed, magnificent bit of art.
End of Ramadan, Mombasa, Kenya, by Michelle Penn. I could tile rooms with stasis. A wail could replace my voice, denoting the divisions between the bold and the veiled. The winding streets of the Arab quarter at dusk. Mosquitoes fight to claim my flesh. I sidestep buzzing pools, tug the scarf closer to my eyes. My skin calls out, I am not like you. It is not faith, but the hand at my back that nudges me through, belonging with it or perhaps to it. A woman too visible, invisible. Safety is the pattern built by tiles. His insistence, just one sting and the body goes weak. I inch the veil aside, not to court impropriety, but to invite a sea breeze, catch a solitary chant, whisper my own prayer, for this fast to continue, just a bit longer.
And then we had people up hills in Wiltshire, Somerset, Bath. That's Somerset, isn't it? In Somerset, it might even be Avon, not sure. And North Somerset. Anyway, Bath, Kelston Hill. I've been up Kelston Round Hill. It's a lovely place. But in the dark, interesting. So the video that got uploaded was quite challenging. There was very little light, but you could hear what was going on. And I think they had an absolute riot. And then we had people around a campfire in a wood in Walkley in Devon.
Sundown Breath by Gabrielle Shue. The earth casts her nets wide. Hold tight. She grips each edge of atmosphere, and surely she begins to breathe in, sucking back the thin skin of sun that skims across the city's horizon. She unravels each element of the day, dissolving chatter down swelling windpipes, melting mundane moments into stories of since, laying doings and dones to rest in pockets of lungs. She lets go, sighs out slow, golden-lined pigeons, pink skies of promises, lullabies of dinner times, a glimpse of coming home.
The Writers' Centre in Nottingham and a pub in Birmingham. That was not our most successful event. And theatre in Holyhead, and they did so well with the live upload because they had technicians there to do it. And I think they had something like 3,000 people watching live. It's stunning.
I have to say about the Solstice Shorts, though, the first one went more without hitches than any of them. It must be pure beginner's luck.
I was astonished. 1,300 people watching live, and what?
Yeah,
This is they can come again.
yeah. Well, it was just that they'd have us all the time. It's clashed with the pantomime. So, and of course, pantomime is their moneymaker, isn't it?
Yes. That's the point of Solstice Shorts for me, is that it is a performance, and that's why we get actors in the main to do stuff, because sometimes they find something that the writer didn't realise was there, and sometimes the writer just isn't that good at it, so it's you know, let's take the pressure off them and let somebody who absolutely is used to emoting across a room get on with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's lovely since you've been involved and organising things on Inner Sman that you're reading your own work, because you read it beautifully.
Oh, thank you.
But it was great fun having Nicholas read as well.
It was.
We should. Nicholas McGoffrey. Those of you who are Welsh speakers, you will know who he is. If you don't know, you can look him up.
One of our feedbacks from the Icheldra in the Dusk performance was just block capitals across the card. Richard Burton is alive and well, and he's in the Icheldra.
A glywi di a'i chan. Ar y diryn di. Gan Nes Owen ag Iona Evans. Maeth gan yn dywelach na'i gan e. Wedi theni yn y gwybod, a bydd rhaid i ti drio'n galetach. Ond rwy ti dal i ganu. Nid yn unig ath wddf, ond gydath a denydd ath gynffon, yn taflu dy lais a nerth fel patait yn boddi yn y byrdwn. Hyd nes i ti gael hyd i'r union nodyn, i lonyddu pob dim. Am rig y nos, newidi'r drefn y byrdwn. Daw'r olaf yn gyntaf, gyda nerth yn yr annisgwyl. Nid oes neb yn dydnabod, ond o'r diwedd, mae dyn gwrando.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. But no, he was wonderful, and he, you know, not that he's, you know, to just compare him to, he's a wonderful actor in his own right.
And a talented poet too.
Yes, yeah, and just such a powerful voice, and the Icheldra as well, of course, is kind of a marble stage, and it's an old chapel, so to hear him, you could feel almost the vibrations
off the stage.
yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah, but Dusk was such a brilliant concept as well. To all start at our
yeah.
Dusk
As soon as I thought of it, and I thought, I wonder if this is actually achievable. It's very complex to have people read just for a specific amount of time, you know, 43 minutes, some, you know, or whatever it was, 56, and so, and start in Inverness, or was it Aberdeen we started in? I can't remember, which is higher. Aberdeen, I think. Work our way across from one side of the country to the other and down, and end up in Cornwall. Yeah. An hour and a half later, but to have achieved in that time something like 5 hours material, it's all what? and that was the first time I thought, okay, we're going to actually upload this live to Facebook, mainly so I could be sure it was happening. Not, of course, that I had time to look because I was busy doing mine in Greenwich, and but I just loved this idea of us all just sort of going boof, 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 boof over the across the UK. And as became the strapline for it, a wave of words across. It was, and using the starling murmuration as a thing for it, and I did just think, yeah, all these words are just floating about in the ether, all together, sometimes the same thing. And, and I was so excited by it. I thought, how can I make this happen? Right, no, let's just do a call out to everybody that I've ever published and say, are you brave enough to take this on? And Ness stood up and said, yes, I will.
Yeah.
Look at us, we're right on the bitter edge here. Couldn't be better.
But it was, no, it was, as I say, a fantastic idea. And there was a real sense of who started now before us. And and as we're starting, somebody else was in already, you know, had already started speaking. It was that sense of, you know, like moving across. You know, with death.
I spent such a long time on the internet working out exactly the timings and what exactly had to happen, exactly when, and start saying to people, this exactly. If you get it wrong, I shall be so disappointed.
I know.
And just and being able to just watch the very end of it.
Yeah, no, it went perfectly. So, but we had a great crew, and Ian and Paul, from the Echeldra. It's fantastic, and they have fantastic sharing on social media as well.
That really helped. That really boosted it, because I think people who hadn't known it was going on saw that because of and then followed the rest of it. So that was because you were sort of roughly in the middle, weren't you, in terms of timing? And you know, one of the things I was sort of vaguely thinking of it as being a sort of north to south thing, but actually it was an east to west thing, because following the sun. I don't know why I hadn't quite figured that out. I'd been thinking, well, it stays like longer, shorter, whichever way around it was, depending on where but actually it was an across as well as a down, and that got very confusing because there was one point where it felt like it was happening in the wrong order, but it was because this push was bigger than this push. Okay.
Yeah, it is. I was exactly
timey-wimey, confusing.
Well, I thought exactly the same. I thought it would move downwards, just downwards, not across. So learn something new.
Yes, because I think Greenwich was before Lancaster, which didn't seem right, but it's just because of the east-west thing. So that was learnt some stuff.
Definitely.
I'm obsessive about what time the sun's going down and things now. I spend a lot of time looking it up and thinking, oh, that's it. But, you know, like, the solstice the summer solstice this year was the 22nd, not the 21st, because it was leap year. So I suppose we ought to do solstice on the 22nd in December, but I don't think we're going to. I think we'll do it on the 21st anyway.
What day is the 21st this year then?
I've lost track. I think it's a Wednesday.
I
think. We'll find out. And it have to be online anyway. We're going to have to do it online just because we can't assume anything, and it's a lot easier to say, oh look, we can do it live and find somewhere, than to cancel everything and start again. Darn good book too, actually. We had such good stuff for that, because it's always about time. There are things that come up every time, and for Dusk we had an inordinate number of poems about bare branches against darkening the sky, I seem to recall. We actually had a whole section for those. We said we're only having one of those.
Oh no,
or something. One of those, whichever one of those is the best one, and possibly not even one, because really
Dusk was a fantastic. I've got quite a memory of quite a few of the stories and poems in it. I like Noon as well.
Because you were involved in that too. I'm eventually going to do a Dawn one, but that's a challenge. Getting people up to that is a challenge,
especially in the winter solstice.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you're doing Dawn in the summer, it'd be sort of 3 o'clock in the morning, or earlier.
Oh, it's the other way around, of course, isn't it? It's later.
Yeah, so at least you could stay in bed until 8 o'clock. Sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Inverness were in a theatre as well, and it was just, oh wow, you know, it was just so magnificent, and I thought, gosh, that was my idea. Terribly exciting. So, I mean, the material, Dusk is quite sinister, potentially. So there are quite some, you know, we don't publish horror, but there's some very, very close to the edge stuff in here. But no schlock. Don't do schlock. Sammy Wright's piece here.
And this is Here by Samuel Wright. Witchcraft here was a thing of bone and gristle and nails, thick nails, square-headed. On a barn, an owl, wings wide and bloody, nailed to the beam to ward off storms. In the chimney breast, a toad, thick with soot and pinned with thorns. Under the bedstead, behind a brick, a bullock's head studded with iron. But here, sheep die, stones fall, nothing changes unless you heave it into place with your own hands. And if you love something, you grip it tight. On a clear day, you could see him in the top field from the village, a speck moving slowly. His sheep, his dog, his wife. But there weren't many clear days. Mist hung in this valley, and the fields he owned were the last green patches under the scree. When you could see, you might guess what he was doing. If he was still hunched by the wall, he was replacing tumbled stones. If you watched, you would feel it in your own rough hands, the grit on the palms, the weight tested, the dirt brushed, the grut and scrape, a sharp push with the heel of the hand, leaning, pulling, feeling the pieces locked together. Everyone built walls with stones piled generations back and then placed and replaced year by year.
Is the creepiest piece in it. It's really sort of, ooh. And as we say on the back of the cover, dusk lends itself to the anxiety that darkness brings, and there is a fair smattering of edge of horror, chills down the spine and keeping the lights on, but there's also humour and the in-betweenness of the cusp of day where anything is possible. And our writers really went and explored all the metaphors for dusk, you know, the blue hour, the dog hour, the wolf time, all of these things. So we've got a lot of canine drift.
We'd started French lessons at school. Already I knew all the numbers up to 20, and we were doing the verb être, to be, as in I am, you are, he is. Who are you? Je suis Alice. Mrs. Dent had taught us funny French sayings as well, like chacun a sa façon de tuer les pouces. This means we all have our unique way of doing things, Mrs. Dent explained. Another one she told us was entre chien et loup, which in English means between a dog and a wolf. What do you understand by this? Mrs. Dent asked. No one had a clue. So she said it was the French way of describing that time of day when the light has faded, but it hasn't quite turned into night, and it's neither one thing nor the other. It's that in-between time. So when I took Loopy into the park after school, I taught him some French, because if we go and live in France, like Dad and Patrick talked about once, then he will need to understand French as well as English. You are a chien, I told him. Tu es un chien. He cocked his head to one side and watched me. Who am I? Je suis Alice. Got that, Luke? What he really wanted was for me to throw his slimy blue ball. I didn't know the French word for fetch, but I didn't have to tell him in English or French. because when I chucked the ball as far and hard as I could, he went after it like I've never seen another dog go.
A number of the people we worked with on this book we have published again just because they have been so epically good and really get what we're about, and that's been lovely. And of course a lot of the people we published in this we had already published, because there was just something about the idea that really got people, and they really wanted to be involved, and people were falling over to volunteer. There were some places where we had more than one person volunteering to help out, or indeed two places that were too close together and we had to decide between them. So we went with the places that we thought they'd get a bigger audience in the end. Radically different to how we went about the next, about Time and Tide this year, where we were going for how remote can we go? Wait for the train.
Sun and moon are still too, day and night are still too. Their wagons have not rolled since he died. No, I got their promises at twilight. Along with all things within the world, not to hurt my son. Night promised not to fall, day promised to stay bright. Sun promised not to burn, moon not to wane, only mistletoe too young. It was as if we all held our breath. Sun and moon, day and night holding still, and the wolves still coming.
This was a wave of words across the UK, travelling at the speed of dark. And thus far, the event I am most proud of. Watch this space.
It was black at sea, a deep blackness, barely bitten by the silver of a half moon, which peeked from somewhere in the ocean of clouds that rested on this ocean of water. There was an oil lamp on the boat, somewhere between silhouetted figures. Earlier, when I'd been sat up on Mama's knee, I could see this light pick out the creep of close waves and the red tint on faces in the dusk. But beyond this tiny light, there was mostly blackness. So now I'd made a cabin for myself, wriggling beneath the benches and feet down into the belly of the boat.